to the Who Dat Nation. Welcome to the Dome Patrol Podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and that's about as much excitement as I have after watching this game. The New Orleans Saints Week 4 matchup against the Atlanta Falcons did not go according to plan, as the Saints have dropped 2 in a row and losing to the Falcons by the score of 26-24 with a late second field goal by their kicker Koo, whereas time expired. Well, left 2 seconds left, but who cares? Anyways, yes, the Saints are now 2-2. They're tied with Atlanta at 2-2, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they won today, just mollywhopping the Philadelphia Eagles, and now they are solely atop of the NFC South at 3-1. I've been waiting. I waited a few minutes, I guess you could say, or about a half an hour or so before I started recording after the game, because I wanted it to settle. I didn't want to come with all that vitriol and the team sucks and all this other foolishness. I wanted to kind of let cooler heads prevail as we discuss this game, because quite honestly, this is bad, and it's bad on so many levels that we can't overlook it, and it has to be pointed out now before we get deeper into this season. As it stands right now, as I said, we're 2-2. We're technically third in the division right now. We're third behind Atlanta because they have the tiebreaker. They beat us. And of course, we're behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have a better record than us. But that's not even the worst part of it. We dropped 2 games in a row. And under normal circumstances, okay, it's not the end of the world. It's only week 4. It's not the end of the world. We can bounce back from this. And that's true. It's still not the end of the world. We can still bounce back from this. The season is far from over. But you look at the task that's set forth in front of the New Orleans Saints. We just lost 2 heartbreaking games. We just lost 2 games that was there for the taking. These weren't butt kickings. It weren't like we faced teams that are on the upswing, that are Super Bowl contenders in this league, and all. But that's with all due respect to the Eagles and the Falcons. I guess it's a bird thing. We can't play bird teams, but they're not. Nobody is looking at these 2 teams and thinking that, oh man, they can represent the NFC in the Super Bowl in this February. No. And all that talk about Atlanta this week, this off season, about them being the team to beat, I saw nothing this week that indicates that Atlanta is a good team. I'm sorry. I respect the fact they won the game. Congratulations to the Falcons and the Falcons fans. Y'all went out there and you won the game. But let's be real. Atlanta did absolutely nothing to win that game. Nothing other than kick field goals. That's it. They were given 7 points by Rashid Shaheed on that muff punt. I mean, literally just here's 7 points. Take it and go. They were, the pick six was a good play by their defense. Can't take that away. That's 14 points right there. What did Atlanta offense do in this game? Nothing. Part of that is because they're Atlanta. The other part of it is because of the Saints defense. And I got to give credit to the Saints defense today. Once again, not allowing a touchdown this week. I think they only allowed 1 last week. They're doing their part. They are legitimately doing their part. Yes, did they have bonehead plays down the stretch of this game with the pass interference by Paulson Adebo and so on? Yes, they did. But they would do. I mean, at this point, what is your offense giving the defense? How are they helping this defense? The offense isn't helping at all. We had Taysom Hill back in this game, at least the first half of this game, and boy, was he missed. He definitely was missed in the second half because he didn't return. He had an abdominal injury, and so he was out. You already went into this game. You missed Demario Davis. His replacement, Willie Gay Jr., he went out. You know, it was like back. We just couldn't catch a break. We couldn't catch a break. We are injury stricken right now. Now, with that being said, I'm not about to sit here and make excuses. No. I'm not doing that. These are men out here. They are NFL players. I don't care if you're on the starting unit or the practice squad. You ought to be prepared to play whenever your number is called. And so if we have injuries on the offensive line, defense, or wherever, it's the next man up, and that's real. That's the next man up. Do your job. And so the offensive line, the excuses, I can already hear it. Oh, we didn't have Cesar Ruiz. We didn't have Eric McCoy. Well, let me drop a bomb on y'all. Atlanta had the same problems we had on their offensive line. Their center didn't play. Their left guard didn't play. But I couldn't tell because he got zero. Well, not zero, but he didn't get pressured. He being Kirk Cousins throughout this game. And that frustrated me the whole game. I didn't even care about the pick six. I didn't care about the Shadeed fumble. That didn't even bother me. What bothered me was the fact that this defensive line couldn't get to a statue that was standing behind yellow caution tape for the entire game and still couldn't touch it. You can't make this stuff up. As well as the defense played, that part of the defense is lacking severely. Their defensive line. And it needs to be corrected, and it needs to be corrected fast. That offensive line, we have serious problems on that offensive line. We came into this season with problems. We were sold a bill of goods the first 2 weeks of the season. Not so much the first 2 weeks, but week 2. And the legitimacy behind that week 2 victory against the Dallas Cowboys every week is starting to look a little unjustified because the Dallas Cowboys defense is trash. Everybody does that against the Dallas Cowboys. So it kind of takes away that, oh, we beat a real team in Dallas. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. And so I don't know what to say about that. I don't know what to say about that defense. At least that offensive line. I'm sorry. Mr. Clint Kubiak, you was on a pedestal for 2 weeks. You was on this golden pedestal, sitting on this iron throne, the Game of Thrones. You know, you was sitting up there, and all of a sudden now we're ready to behead you in front of Cersei and all that because you have just, I don't even know how to describe it. Is Halloween coming early? Is that Pete Carmichael in a Clint Kubiak costume? Because the game plan, it go back to last week against Philly, right? Go back to last week. It's like if one piece of the puzzle is out, the entire game plan is out. They're discombobulated. That whole offense don't know what to do. They look erratic. They don't look comfortable. You notice the first 2 weeks, they were comfortable. They were doing whatever they wanted to do. Run, pass, screens, whatever. It didn't matter. Run to the left side, run to the right, run up the middle. It didn't matter. They did exactly what they wanted to do. Why? Because everybody was all on the same page. Then the injuries started hit. Okay, you had injuries. Okay, everybody is having injuries across the league. So kill that noise with the injury excuse. You had injuries. People go down during the game. You're in the game and a certain individual go down. Just like last week, Eric McCoy went down and all of a sudden nobody knew what they were doing. You're calling timeouts because nobody is lining up correctly and all this other stuff. It's like pure mayhem when one player goes down. Fast forward to just this Sunday against Atlanta. Everything is going right. Even with the turnovers. Even with the turnovers, which is unexcusable, but you still was in control of the game. Taysom Hill was running clean over the Atlanta Falcons defense. Alvin Kamara was running over the Atlanta Falcons defense. Taysom Hill goes out, doesn't return, and all of a sudden, I don't know what to do. How do we run the ball? Do we run? Do I hand it off to somebody? I mean, they got completely lost. The whole offense just looked discombobulated. Derek Carr, he was starting to revert back to that Derek Carr that I can't stand. All the whining. I don't know if y'all noticed it. He went to start fussing and stuff. I was getting frustrated too. At him and everybody else would have floored at least on their help. I don't know what the issue is here. I don't know if to blame coaching. I don't know if it's the players. I don't know if it's I just don't get it. And I guess what really makes me mad as a Saints fan, we went from being the highest of the high to the lowest of the low in the course of one calendar month. I don't think that's possible anywhere else in the National Football League. But the Saints managed to pull it off. In this rivalry against the Atlanta Falcons, the Saints and the Falcons have played before this Sunday 110 times in their history. 110 matchups between these two squads. They are split 55-55. Well, that split came to an end today. Atlanta takes control of the overall record with 56-55 as they defeated the Saints. And I would say, is it an upset? I don't even know if it was an upset, but it definitely, I wasn't expecting it. I picked the Saints to win, even though I did expect the Saints to split with Atlanta this year. I was just hoping that first victory came this one. I was hoping we get it this go around with the victory. But now we got to cross our fingers to when we meet again later on this season. Atlanta field goal kicker Young Hoku drilled a 58-yard field goal with 2 seconds left in the game. You really could have bagged him up another 10 yards. He kicked the mess out that ball. The win improves Atlanta to 2-2, and it drops the Saints to 2-2. It was Cool's fourth field goal on the day. The Falcons won despite not having an offensive touchdown. Let that sink in. They won a game. They scored 26 points as a team, but none of them were from an offensive touchdown. Jesus. And we lost. Anyway, it looked like the Saints were going to win the game when Alvin Kamara scored from the 1 yard line to give the Saints a 24-23 lead with a minute left to play, with Atlanta with no timeouts remaining. But Kirk Cousins marched the Atlanta Falcons into scoring position, thanks in part by a 30-yard pass interference penalty against Saints cornerback Paulson Adebo. Now, before everybody go with tiki torches and pitchforks in front of that man's house, just keep in perspective. That's not why we lost this game. That has nothing to do with why we lost this game. Was it a bonehead play? Yes. But there's plenty of bonehead plays to go around. Not just that. That's not why we lost. The Saints gifted the Falcons their first points of the game when Shadeed muffed a punt that Atlanta recovered in the end zone for a touchdown. The Saints got their second touchdown on another Saints mistake as linebacker Troy Anderson returned an interception by Derek Carr, 47 yards for the score. Carr was trying to throw the ball away and it was deflected by Matthew Judon straight into the air, and Anderson settled underneath it. Carr had completed his first 7 passes of the game. He was looking crisp. He was looking like he was on one to start off the game, but then the wheels fell off. Like I said, after that interception, he just couldn't shake it. Atlanta also had a 53-yard field goal to end the half and a 44-yard field goal in the third quarter. Taysom Hill, before he went out in his injury, provided the first half offense first touchdown, which came on a 2-yard run, giving the Saints touchdown in the opening possession for every game this season. Yay. The last time a Saints team did that was in 2009. And we know what happened in 2009, but if this keeps going the way this is going, it will not be repeated. Taysom Hill scored again on a 5-yard touchdown run, a score that was set up by an interception thrown by Kirk Cousins. The ball was intercepted by Paulson Adebo. Like I said, it was feast or famine today. It was the Lord give it, Lord take it away when it came to Paulson Adebo. That's why I'm not jumping on him. Yes, it was a bonehead play, but he also made some great plays as well during the game. So let's not be short-sighted when it comes to getting mad at that young man. Taysom Hill played in his 100th game. He was ruled out in the second half due to an abdominal injury. He was hurt last week. I think it was his chest last week. Now it's his abdominal muscle or something. So hopefully he can bounce back from it, because obviously he's a major part of this offense, because without him, the offense looks horrible. Let's just call it what it is. Linebacker Demario Davis, he missed his first game ever in his 13-year career because of an injury. He did miss one game in 2020 or 21 because of COVID, but that was COVID. But this is his first time missing a game because of an injury. And man, his replacement, Willie Gay Jr., took his place in the lineup, but he left the game with a hand injury and was replaced by DeMarco Jackson. Also lost in this game was veteran safety Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, with a groin injury. Like I said, man, it was I'm not making excuses, but it was murderer's row when it came to the game of what they call it, attrition. It was, we were just dropping players left and right. Next week, the Saints will travel to Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City to take on the defending World Super Bowl champions, the Chiefs. As I said before, elsewhere around the NFC South, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just mollywopped the Philadelphia Eagles by the score of 33-16. I think Baker Mayfield had 300 and something yards passing in that game. He decimated that Philly defense, that same defense that Derek Carr could do zero against last week. Once again, let's put that in perspective. I was talking to my cousin, and we was talking about this score just before I came on to record. He was like, "Well, Philly didn't have their two star receivers in that game, so Buccaneers really got lucky." And I took a minute because I was waiting for the rest of the story, and I'm like, "Well, cuz they didn't have them when we played them, so why is that an excuse?" That's not an excuse. But Tampa, being well coached and well put together, they took advantage of the situation. Just saying. Also, in the NFC South, you had the Carolina Panthers losing to the Cincinnati Bengals, which this is Cincinnati's first win of the season. They finally got a victory today by defeating the Panthers 34-24. NFC South standings go as such: Tampa Bay 3-1, Atlanta 2-2, Saints 2-2, Carolina 1-3. Going over the stats of today's game against Atlanta Falcons, let's begin with the passing yardage. Starting with the Saints, Derek Carr, he was 28 for 36, 239 yards passing, no touchdowns and one interception. He was sacked one time today. Kirk Cousins for the Atlanta Falcons, he was 21 for 35, 238 yards passing, zero touchdowns and one interception. He was sacked one time today. Like I said, that was so disappointing. That was so disappointing that this defensive line could not take advantage of their depleted offensive line. And now I know Atlanta couldn't take advantage of it, our depleted offensive line, but you would think theoretically we're a better team. We're a better team. I didn't expect them to, but I was fully expecting our defensive line to take advantage, and it didn't happen. Leading rushers today for the New Orleans Saints, it was Alvin Kamara, 19 carries for 77 yards and a touchdown. Taysom Hill, 6 carries for 24 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the Atlanta Falcons, Tyler Algier, 8 carries for 60 yards, no touchdowns. Bijan Robertson, 7 carries for 28 yards and 0 touchdowns. Once again, that was a fear of mine going into this game. Bijan Robinson, if you remember last season, Bijan Robinson just trucked over the New Orleans Saints. And the year before that, Algier trucked over the Saints. So the Saints did a pretty decent job with both of these young men today. And they was a non-factor, but it was all for naught. Leading receiver for the New Orleans Saints today was Chris Olave. He had 8 catches for 87 yards, no touchdowns. Leading receiver for the Atlanta Falcons is Drake London, 6 catches for 64 yards today. Over on defense, the leading tackler for the New Orleans Saints was Paulson Adebo. He had 12 tackles today. For the Atlanta Falcons, it was Troy Anderson with 17 tackles, and he had that pick six as well. He was all over the place. He ended up getting hurt at the end of the game, but by then it was pretty much whatever. Now the team stats. Now once I read off these team stats, you like myself are probably going to sit there and want to throw something at your computer, your phone, or throw the phone or iPad, wherever you are currently listening to this show. And thank you, by the way, because it won't make sense. Because you're going to sit there like, how the Saints lost this game. How? If you look at these numbers. Well, let's break it down. First downs. Saints had 25 first downs to the Atlanta Falcons 14. Third down efficiency. Saints were 7 for 13. The Atlanta Falcons were 4 for 11. On fourth down efficiency, Saints were 1 of 2. Atlanta never went for it on fourth. Total plays. Saints ran 70 total plays to the Atlanta Falcons 51. Total yardage. Saints had 366 total yards to Atlanta Falcons 315. Total drives. Saints had 10 drives to Atlanta's 9. Yards per play. Saints had 5.2 yards per play to the Atlanta Falcons 6.2 yards per play. Passing. Saints had 235 yards passing to Atlanta's 227. Rushing, Saints had 131 yards rushing to Atlanta's 88. Red zone. In the red zone, Saints were 3 for 4 in the red zone. Atlanta was 0 for 1 in the red zone. Penalties, Saints had 6 penalties for 60 yards. Atlanta had 9 penalties for 76 yards. Saints had 2 turnovers to Atlanta's 1. That makes a big difference too, especially on the road. Time of possession, Saints had the ball for 35 minutes and 42 seconds to Atlanta's 24 minutes and 18 seconds. How the Saints lost this game, people? I mean, really, how did they lose this game? It makes 0 sense. It is so mind-boggling. This team find ways to lose. They find ways to lose. It is so frustrating. I guess I'm not mad at the team. And that's the crazy part. The emotions that I'm feeling right now. I'm not even mad at the New Orleans Saints right now. I'm mad at myself because I've drunk the Kool-Aid. I really did. Them first 2 weeks of the season. No, I didn't think the Saints were world beaters. I didn't think they were the best team in the league, but I thought they were contenders. And then you turn right around these last 2 weeks and you look exactly like you looked last season. They are so inconsistent, and they have been inconsistent under Dennis Allen his entire tenure as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And it needs to be said. It honestly needs to be said. This team has underachieved time after time after time, and it's getting boring, bruh. It's getting tiresome. It's almost to the point I don't even want to watch it because I don't know. It's not so much I don't know what I'm gonna get. That's all. That's part of the allure of watching these games because you don't know. It's any given Sunday, but the frustration behind it. I can deal with a loss, getting my behinds just beat out of the building. Those are the losses I can actually go to bed happy about. It's these two past losses here against Philly and against Atlanta, where the game was there, where you sit back, because I've been sitting back for the past week, still trying to piece together how the Saints lost this game. What did Philly do? And all you can think about, all you can bring up is Saquon Barkley, one big run, Dallas Goedert, one big catch, and that is it. You can't tell me nothing else in that game that Philly did, only to come right back a week later, and you can't name me one thing Atlanta did other than the pick six. That's the only thing they actually went out and did. They actually had to put forth effort to do something, because they didn't have to put forth effort to recover a ball that's just sitting right there in the middle of the end zone that was muffed. They put zero effort other than the fact they had to run down the field to come get it, because Shaheed just laid there like, oh, what do I do? It was like, wait, what are you doing? Why were you even trying to field that punt in the first place? But whatever. Atlanta did nothing. And you see this team. You've seen this team be dominant in every facet of the game. But they struggling now. You're not going to sit here and tell me because Taysom Hill went down, your whole offensive game plan went down. If that's the truth, we got deeper issues that spans beyond the 53 men that take the field. It goes on that sideline with these coaches, because if you don't have a contingency plan in case something goes wrong, you are not a good coach. You are not a good coach if you can't adapt and adjust to what's going on. For example, every time they ran the ball and they had to run it off of Trevor Penning's side, it was stuffed. It went absolutely nowhere. But when they ran the ball off of the rookie side, Talihensei Fuaga's side, you was getting 5, 6, 7 yards a pop. They barely ran to that side. They kept running off of Trevor Penning's side, and it kept getting blown up. And common sense at some point should have set in. You know what? We're going to stop running to that side because it's not working. Not the New Orleans Saints. We're going to keep pounding like they're the Carolina Panthers. So you keep pounding. No, it never worked. And you lose on first down. And when you lose on first down with this team, who is a front running team, by the way, the whole offensive game plan is over. You become one dimensional and teams are just teeing off on you. Atlanta defense, which isn't all that good, all they did was pin their ears back and just came straight at Derek Carr. They didn't disguise it. They didn't run too many stunts. I saw them run a couple. But for the most part, all they did was just blitz them. And it was lights out. It was over. But in any event, let's go over the grades for this game. The grades, how I do the grades, if this is your first time listening, and welcome to the show, by the way. Normally I ain't so doom and gloom, but that's only when I'm confused by the. Like I said, it ain't the loss. Cool, we lost, but it's just the confusion of how did we lose? But anyway, the grades. How we do the grades is I grade every unit of the New Orleans Saints this Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. Offense, defense, special teams, and coaching. We round them all up, comprise them together, and get a overall grade for the Saints' performance against the Atlanta Falcons in Week 4. Beginning with the offense, offense gets a C plus today. With the turnover, with the just the inability to move the ball when the middle of the field was wide open. It was wide open the entire game, and that wasn't taken advantage of. I don't know if it was Derek Carr. I'm not ready to just jump on Derek Carr. God knows, with all my heart, I am really trying with this dude. I really, really am. But he is making it really, really difficult. I went into this season saying I'm not just going to beat on Derek Carr. And I'm trying. But he is not helping me at all. Even with those first 2 games of the season, you can go back and dissect that it could have been better. But in situations like this, let me give you an example. On that 4th and goal play where he went to the corner of the end zone with Shadeed, which we can explore why they ran that play with Shadeed till your face turned blue, why that wasn't a tight end, a bigger receiver, but whatever. If you watch that play again, Atlanta just blitzed up the middle. I mean, they just went all 0 blitz up the middle. You had, I forgot who it was, streaking down the middle. He ran a slat down the middle. It was wide open. If he would have just looked, it's just looked, that was there. Actually, you didn't even have to just look. You should have been able to read that. If you're a top-paid, top-tier NFL quarterback, which is what they're convincing me he is, that throw should have been made. Because how I know he's able to do it, because on the very next drive where they had the opportunity, they ran the exact same play and he threw it to Chris Olave down the middle of the field, wide open. So it's stuff like that. It's poor execution throughout the game that drives me nuts with this offense. Yes, they get a C plus. Defense gets a A minus. Defense, I mean, my God, what more can you ask from this defense? Yes. Paulson Adebo, I know people going to beat up on Paulson Adebo because of that PI. Unacceptable. It was a bonehead move. Stupid play. He needs to be more aware of what's going on around him. But that's not why we lost this game. Yeah, I mean, the defense held this team, at least their offense, without a touchdown. This was supposed to be the Atlanta Falcons. Come on now, think about it. This was supposed to be the team that reinvented the wheel here, man. I'm talking, if you listen to First Take, if you listen to Undisputed when it was on, if you listen to all these other shows on Fox Sports Net and ESPN, before the season started, Atlanta was that team. They were that team they were going to be scoring 40 points a game. That's what everybody was saying. You got Drake London, you got Mooney, you have Bijan Robertson, you have Agier, you have Kyle Pitts, you have all these weapons. Then you add Kirk Cousins. They were supposed to be this dynamite offense. Saints didn't allow them to score a touchdown. What more can you ask for from this defense? The offense didn't help you out. Yes, the defense gets an A minus. Special teams gets a C minus. Off of one play, and that was that Shadeed play. Should I punish the whole special teams for that? I shouldn't, but unfortunately, he did it while he was on special teams. It just ruined the game. I knew at that point we was in for a long day because we was already fighting from behind. We literally spotted them 7 points. Literally. They just gave them 7 points. I've never seen nothing like that. Coaching gets a C minus. Coaching, it looked like you came in with a good game plan, but as the game played out, you couldn't adjust. And this has been a fight I've been having internally because unfortunately I don't have any connections to the organization to whereas I could tell them to their face that they need to learn how to adjust on the fly. They need to learn how to change their game plan up depending on what the opponents are doing out there on the field. It's like, oh, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. It'll eventually work. And it doesn't work like that in the National Football League. Yeah, you keep doing what you're doing when you win it. That's why I call them front runners. Yeah, when you winning, you can do whatever you want to do. But when you get in dog fights like this and defensive battles like you did last week, you're gonna have to adjust. When key players go down during the game, you're gonna have to adjust. And they haven't done it as a coaching staff, at least not in the past couple of weeks here. With all those grades, we rounded all up. Overall performance for the New Orleans Saints in their Week 4 matchup against the Atlanta Falcons, they get a C minus. And I was expecting a lower grade, but the math did what the math did. But if it was up to me, I would have gave him like an F. I mean, I'm so bad with him, man, because it's ridiculous that you lose games like this. These are gimmies. Now, starting off the year, before everything popped off, and we really got a glimpse of this new offense and whatnot, these new additions to the teams that we got, you would have prayed for a 2-2 at this point, and been all right with it. But not after what we saw the first 2 weeks of the season. Not after what we saw. If we were half that, what we produced against Carolina and Dallas, just imagine if we were half the output that we were doing against those two teams in these last two games, Saints would be 4-0. You didn't have to be spot on perfect to win these two games, obviously, because the Saints played pretty horribly on offense the last 2 weeks. Let's be completely honest. Yet and still, they were last-minute losses. These were last-minute losses. You had the games won. But it is what it is. The MVPs for this week game. This was hard. But I dedicated myself to do it every week. I'm not going to let my emotions get the better of me. And I'm going to give the MVPs out to who deserve it. The most valuable player for this week. And how we do this, we give an MVP to the offense and an MVP to a defensive player as well. This was easy, actually, when you really sit down and think about it. Is a no-brainer, I should say. Not easy, but a no-brainer when you sit down and think about it. MVP for the offense is Taysom Hill. MVP for the defense is Demario Davis, and they didn't even play the game. The MVP shows you how valuable they are, right? The most valuable are those two players. If they're not on the field, is a problem, obviously. So yes, they get the MVP this week because Taysom Hill, offensively, once he went out, the rest of the offense went out with him. On defense, even though the defense was the better part of this team this week, like I said, there was some plays that could have been made defensively because just like last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, the defense with this bend don't break thing. I'm all for it. That's cool. You don't allow touchdowns. That is great. But eventually, all that bending, pressure busts pipes. Eventually it's gonna break. Are we gonna be able to recover from that break? And so I think we need to readjust that game plan defensively with the bending. And Demario Davis is a piece that we definitely needed, definitely going to need going forward, especially next week against Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah, those are the MVPs this week. But that's the game. That is the game against the Atlanta Falcons. Once again, unless you was living under a rock and you didn't watch the game, God bless you if you didn't watch it. You were one of the lucky ones. But the New Orleans Saints fall to the Atlanta Falcons by the score of 26-24, dropping the Saints to 2-2 on the season so far. But it's not over. It's not over. It's not doom and gloom. You know the 24-hour rule. We soak for about 24 hours, and then it's on to Kansas City. So don't let it ruin your week. You know, it can mess up your Monday, but don't let it ruin your week. We're on to Kansas City. And you know what's upsetting? They'll go on Monday night. They'll travel to Kansas City and monkey stomp the Chiefs. They will do that. And it wouldn't shock me, but it would infuriate me beyond belief. It would make me so mad. Why, you ask? Why? For that reason I spoke on earlier. The inconsistency of this team. They'll go to Kansas City on Monday night in Arrowhead Stadium, which is one of the most difficult stadiums to play, and beat them half to death. And you struggled against an Atlanta Falcon team. You know? You struggle against a hampered Philadelphia team. That's the type of stuff. It's like, my God. Now, am I putting the carriage in front of the horse? Maybe. I don't know, because I don't know what's going to happen next week. But it wouldn't shock me if they do that, because that's the Saints. They just that's what they do. But anyways, what is your feelings of the game this week? Are you infuriated? I know you're mad because it's Atlanta. It's Atlanta. You're going to be mad. I wasn't mad at Philly, but I'm mad at this. I'm mad because it's Atlanta. Because this was their Super Bowl. This is what they dream of. They go to bed drooling about beating the Saints. And there you have it. I hope they're happy. But I want to know your feelings, your thoughts. Do you think we can get this turned around quick and get back to our winning ways that we started the season off with? Or did the Saints fall back to reality? Was it all a dream for 2 weeks of the season, and now we're back to reality? I would love to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for this show on all social media platforms and contact me through there as well. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also on YouTube, subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Dome Patrol here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this recap and review and this reaction to the Saints Week 4 loss to the Atlanta Falcons by the score of 26-24. Oh boy. Yeah, man, this one's gonna hurt. This one's gonna hurt for a minute. I'm not even gonna lie, but it is what it is. No, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Till next week when we come back to preview the Saints matchup against the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Oh boy, I'm gonna be screaming loud and proud. Who that?